No problem. So to set this up, we have a new episode out of the podcast. It's called the Practicality of Menswear. Spencer and I kind of talk about the issues people have with menswear, not seeing it practically, not knowing how to live regular lives within it. And so we talk about that in the podcast episode, just me and Spencer. I also wrote an essay about the topic where I kind of go into what I think helps, wearing, cotton jackets, heavyweight wools, things that are more practical, and also the aspect of just kind of wearing it practically. You use the pockets in there. There's a put your camera in there, put your phone, put your pens. You wear the jacket, prop the collar up when you're going to the store and it's windy, or wear shorts and loafers if you really want to look sharp, but then you don't want to wear full pants. There's a lot of ways to make menswear practical. But let's maybe talk a little bit more on an expanded thing. I know, again, we don't have the biggest group with us today, but maybe that'll make it more coherent for us.
It's not about the size.
And again, if the chat, if you guys have anything, please feel free to send it in here and we'll discuss it. Or I'd love to hear you guys talk and share with us your ideas on how you make menswear practical for you, or maybe something that challenged you in the essay or in the podcast. But let's talk to Matt now. I mean, a lot of us live in different areas. Only 3 of us in here live in LA, or in the greater LA area, SoCal, I guess. But Matt, I'm curious, how do you make menswear? I know we talked a little bit last week about how you have very specific wardrobes per season. You have to do that because there's not really mild weather, I don't think, or at least when it's really winter. It's a case of wearing very heavy coats and special shoes and everything. But tell us a little bit about making menswear practical, or how you buy things with the intention of making them practical.
I guess I'll bounce off quick what you were saying earlier, where it's like when you get like a jacket, and I feel this way, so many people getting like tailored garments, just like you breaking it in and like using it. Like, I know some people, they have the nice suit, they don't want to do it, but it just looks so much better when you do wear it and you have like used hip pockets, you get that the sag or whatever to it. And just like, or even in the chest, I usually only put a wallet in there, but still just like using that and getting the wear in it just looks so good when you do that. But more to the question, I've been like thinking of what are the most sort of practical fits that you can really do, and I like wearing like a sneaker, because loafers are fine and well, but sometimes you need something to grip the earth, and I don't have as many shoes that that have that great grippy bottom, and they're usually just leather soles or whatever. So my sneakers often have that, or even my wallabies have that kind of cork, whatever it is, but good for traction, whether you need it or not. And sometimes when it's nice out like it is right now, it's still nice to have something a little more grippy. But even if it rains, you're not as fucked as you might be wearing some leather or suede shoe. And probably like, it's weird because there's an element to like dressing with like sweatpants or like things you can move in if you're like rehearsing for something, or you need to like be like have ease of body and movement for stuff I do in my life. But so like even stuff like sweats and simple like crew necks or long sleeves are nice. But layering I found is really important, because it's like to go out and then realize, oh, I'm way too cold because I wore like short sleeves against like a tailored jacket, and then I feel the cold air, or I chose not to wear an undershirt. And so that's why I typically like layers, in that, okay, well, I could just stuff this in my bag, or I could add this later on, and I'm not as fucked throughout the entire day and just uncomfortable, But overall, whether it's like separates or a suit, I think I've been finding a lot. And if I do wear a suit, I really rarely have not been doing the whole tie with the shirt. I usually just t-shirt or v-neck or like hemley or knitwear, some kind of knitwear. But that and a cap and like a cotton suit, for instance, just like it's been so useful to have all of those pockets at my disposal. And just again, it makes the stuff look lived in, and you're not just kind of bumming around and look, you're using your stuff. But that fucking Uniqlo tote, thank you, Scoop, so much. It's my favorite tote in the world. And that's also, that's another thing where you get to shove shit in it, and it looks used as well. and it's just as practical as anything else with all those side pockets. And so you're not stuffing for the sake of stuffing. Like, you want to use things, and certainly in the summer, which we've kind of danced around this a little bit, I might not need to bring a tote with me everywhere. I have like this little sling drawstring bag that my parents got when they were in Vienna last summer, that if I just had that, I had enough summer accessories, or that would be enough. I don't need a huge tote. And I haven't been transformed in a while, but we'll see this summer if which encounters. I like a huge toad, by the way. Yeah. No, so it does vary depending on the situation, or how long you're gone in a day. Do I need to pack for? Am I going to be somewhere and just being ready? But I overall having this practical mindset. It leans into the style that I think a lot of us are into, where we're not trying to look pristine and perfect, and it's kind of the slouchiness that. It's that slouchiness, I guess that's a way to say it, where it's just like, oh no, he's using his pockets. He doesn't care about these things. He's got his phone there, and I think you look better for it. IMO.
Yeah.
What an O to have.
Yeah, it's one of those things, I think at a certain point it's important to go out and make sure you use them, because I when it comes to menswear, you really have to, if you're into it, you're already into a very niche and a very weird style. Like, let's not get that twisted. It doesn't really, sure. People all over the world, we know lots of people, thousands of people who dress like us, but to the eyes of a regular person, it'll still come off in a formal way. And so I think that's why, if you make sure that you are using it and you are seen using it, that will help not only keep you looking slouchy, but kind of further that idea, incrementally, that menswear can be practical. Like, people are stupid, right? People don't think that it's possible to use the pockets of your jacket. Like, people have literally said, I have always kept my jacket pockets sealed, and it wasn't until I saw you do, like, put your hands in it, or the fact that your wallet's in it, that I never thought I could do it. Like, it's astounding. But it's like, people baby. We talked about this in the podcast, where people like have this weird, not obsession, but this weird idea that you have to baby your clothing, or especially your tailoring or something. You know. And I like that idea. Where, like, if a tote bag isn't practical at the time because maybe you don't have that much, just stick it in your pockets. I mean, and there's also that idea that in the future episode, I think it's the next one after this, where Spencer and I talk about authenticity. It's that having an expanded view about what menswear is helps with practicality. Like, if you think that menswear is just suits, it's going to be kind of limiting, because maybe this is like a special item for you that you only use for, special events. But when you think of menswear as everything, and I know Berkeley Breeze and all just doesn't like how vague that term is, but when menswear to us means like, a short coat, whether it's made of cotton twill or flannel fabric or cotton cashmere, whatever, you have this idea, okay, all of these things are available to me. How can I use it in my daily life, as opposed to, kind of coming at it with a very singular.
But do you have your mindset. Comfort zones where you're just like, this might be different, it might be more practical, but it's like, I kind of like this look,
I mean, it's. I also, even though I think people are stupid, I also think that people know what they're comfortable with innately. Like, I think that everyone, I cannot convince anyone that what I think looks good can be worn to an office. I think you can do it, but I can't convince you.
Yeah.
You have to have, and you'll know if you can wear it. Like I have seen offices where people dress like me. I have friends who work in offices that dress like me. Mm-hmm. But you also know that you have a dress code. So if you think you can't do it, don't do it.
Yeah.
Then don't do it. Just like how I understand, like, that and you, I'm talking about the audience and people watching. People have seen me wear a sport coat and stuff my pockets full of my wallet, full of phone chargers, whatever. Yeah. But if you have an H&M jacket that is super delicate, super 120s or whatever, that you want to preserve for the funerals and weddings in your life, then don't do it. Then it's fine. You don't force yourself to do it. Don't practicality isn't supposed to be like a style thing. Like I think, like I said in the podcast episode with Spencer, right? Like I remember when I was telling Spencer after we met Dylan, I was like, damn, it looks so cool that he put his like glasses case and his like newspaper in his pocket. Spencer's like, well, don't do that just for a look. I'm like, it's not about that. I want to be able to, at the time I didn't realize this, but like I want to have like a life where like I just bring things with me,
and when you have to do it.
Exactly, and I wonder, if maybe Spencer, started. I mean, I don't know when Spencer's always had, notepads as much as I've known him. But like the idea that maybe as we're out doing things, maybe he needs to use a notepad. Maybe it's one reason why he'll keep a pen in his pocket, And for me, it's like, okay, well, I want to write for this blog. I want to photograph all my friends. I don't want to bring a camera bag with me all the time. Why not just wear it around my neck? And then it starts to kind of sink in there. There's that aspect about it. And I think that people, I don't think anyone is coming to this thinking that practicality is a style move, but maybe if you think about it that way a little bit at first, that okay, it's cool if I incorporate pieces of my life into it. I think that could help you get in that mindset, and then your own context will fill in the gaps. Like, okay, what is that thing you bring with you? Is it a pen? Is it like, your phone? Do you start putting your phone in your front pocket because you use it more often that way? Because I think that with menswear, and we didn't get this in the podcast, but people feel like they have to hide everything within the suit. Like, if I have my wallet, it's got to be in the breast pocket. If it's like a key, it's got to be in the pocket. And it has to be as flat as possible. I don't want like. And I get that. I don't want to put stuff in my pants pockets. I think Spencer and I both talked about how we
not the
don't
pants.
really do that. Yeah, but we use our jacket all the time.
I would say I have moved. Oh well, we'll get to MJ, but I have moved my phone and wallet from the interior of the jacket to the hip pockets, the exterior, because you see the weight.
It
brings
depends
it
on
down.
the pants. If I'm wearing like wide pants with like I guess a slightly more generous thigh, then I keep phone in my front right pocket, and keys my front left. But it might depend, right? You might not have a top that would support it, a phone. Right? I mean, but it's like, I also, if I'm just like running, if I'm like out, I will, put my phone in my hip pocket because it's easier access than my pants pocket. But so, it depends. It changes.
On days that I don't wear a jacket, and it might be happening soon because like in the summertime, right? Like, might not wear a jacket. Like looks like Ivan's earlier that we saw with the OCBD and pleated trousers. I would do keys in the left pocket, wallet in back pocket, but phone in shirt breast pocket, because the button up shirt becomes like a jacket, like the maybe not a jacket, but the top layer of sorts to me, you know. And that's totally how well it's still breast accessible, you know what I mean? So it's it's kind of replacing that jacket.
Putting something in that front shirt pocket when you're already doing a severely unbuttoned like shirt, you have to do an extra button because that really it opens things up a bit. So and that weight in it.
And it helps if your shirt is loose. Like you can't if it's a slim shirt. Like I'm wearing a slim shirt now because it's pretty old. I can't put anything in these pockets, otherwise it's gonna bust.
No, I only do that with my boxier shirts, like this linen one I have. But MJ, were you saying something earlier?
No, I wasn't.
Oh,
okay. Never mind.
But did it sound like I thought say something?
No.
I think you lit up. You lit up.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say something.
I think I could.
That's excited.
You were
crazy.
I mean, the funny thing about this is that, it kind of starts out with pocket fisting, right? Like it's the idea that, you can use it like a regular jacket. I never get, first off, this is a little bit of a tangent here, but everyone's always like, oh, well, putting your hands in your jacket pocket is uncomfortable. And it's, first off, like, what are you talking about? And it's like, oh, well, they're you have to go like top down into it, as opposed to like the side, like, oh, denim jackets, you can put them in like at the sides, or like Barracuda jackets. I'm like, it's not that different. Like it's not enough. It's not such a wild thing to be so different. You know what I mean? Like it's like the angle. It's also because, man, if your fucking suit jackets are too short, of course your pockets are going to be too high. Right. And again, like I said earlier in this little talk, is that the funny thing about this is that it's really hard to sell this idea of practicality to people because it only works if you're us or like us. You know, like, oh, I can't put my phone in my pocket because I'm at like a very fancy job at with a suit. I'm like, okay, well then it's not for you, man. Like I can't help you out there. Oh, I can't bring a tote bag because tote bags are too casual. Okay, well, my bad. Like, sorry, sucks to suck, dude. I mean, it's just I don't know. Like it's really sad that that idea of practicality is so like limiting, and I honestly don't believe that it is. I don't believe that you go into an office with a cotton suit is gonna raise some eyebrows.
Well,
maybe
because my thing is I don't think people know the difference.
No.
Right.
It's their brain noticing, but they don't. You know what I mean?
If anything happens, don't wear like a crazy or like a light, cotton suit. Sure, don't wear that in a conservative office. But if you're wearing a navy cotton suit, who the fuck is gonna tell them?
The deal is, I still have to subvert. I can't just walk. Like, very rarely will I walk down the street wearing like a suit, shirt, and a tie. Like, unless I have to for like performing. If I'm wearing a suit, I really need to kind of subvert and have like casual underthing or like a hat, especially like a dad cap. I need to do that. So like, if people do see that, they're like, oh, like. Even if they don't know, their brains is like, oh, what is different? I don't get it, but it's so it's not.
I used to be like that. I think I don't know if this is like the end game here because I mean everyone's different. But I used to like back in 2017 when I started to do like a lot more subversive looks, and Spencer knows this. Like I would always wear like a beanie with my suit at all times.
Oh yeah,
I would always wear a bucket hat. You guys can see this old blog post. When I wrote those things. Now, I think I dress much more elegantly than I ever did before, but. The thing that's changed is like the attitude. Like I'm literally like I'm just like slouching around. My hair is messy. I've got my hands in my pockets.
Well,
like
attitude is the key.
Yeah. And so I feel like eventually you kind of get there. I don't because like I think I talked about this like in a couple of other episodes too, where like I've realized that I really do just straight up like tailoring. Like it's not like oh I got like like
flattering
subversive rebellion. Like I get that, and that still plays a part into like what I wear, but. More often than not now, I choose not to like. I don't really wear my, like I don't wear like my sawtooth as much as like my OCBDs or like my spear points as much now. I don't know if it's again pandemic making me reverse and like I gotta wear this stuff that's gotta dress up occasion or whatever. But like, yeah, it's interesting that now I just choose to like do what I do, but like in literal like regular, I guess quote to most people formal things like my outfit today, right?
You don't
like the brown
it.
Suit. Yeah, I don't baby.
That's
I mean, it
difference.
helps. I am wearing like a cotton suit,
yeah,
which helps, right? But it's still like
I think
the outfit. I think not.
You and I are both like we both say like don't baby your clothes, but we also don't own anything that's super fine or delicate, or at least we don't wear it a lot. Because we don't like to baby our clothes.
Because I mean, Spencer, you've said like you think about the outfit and then you walk out the door and you try not to think about it. I feel like people like that want to start dressing this way. They're like. They don't want to put things in the pockets, and they're always hyper conscious. I'm wearing my suit, and what do you and asking people, what do you think of my suit? We're really just
like
live in clothing.
That with that point, and it's something that might come up if we get into the Berkeley briefs thing. But yeah, no, I try to have that attitude because all my favorite style inspo pictures are not necessarily of. Like lookbooks or models, it's just of regular people, and I'm like, I try to have that attitude where it's like,
and just by nature, once you get your fit right and your collection right, you don't care.
Exactly.
Things will look fine, or how they will look is fine. You don't need to be hyper aware of every little detail.
Exactly.
I guess there's a good point here. I do want to get to David's thing, but I guess really quick here. I know I got a couple of comments. The Practicality came out, and the guy was like, well. Maybe people don't want to get super practical because the clothes are really delicate and expensive, and as Winston just said, maybe just don't.
You also don't need a suit to dress like us.
I like everything. Well, not everything. Obviously, I'm not gonna like go fucking running in loafers or whatever. But I don't want to have to baby anything that I own. I want everything.
It's.
To be able to just like I can go out and just live in it.
Right.
We touched on this in the episode, I think, or maybe this is a more recent one, I'm not sure. But it's like you can't you can't have it both ways. Like, you can't be like, oh, well, this is too delicate. Oh, but I can't wear a cotton suit. It's like, you gotta fucking pick which one you want. I don't understand. There's a lot of stuff too where when MJ were talking, like another friend group, like talking about, building, your PC. It's like, okay, well, I want to be able to run this, but my budget's like $800. Can't help you, man. Like, I don't know.
Or buy better, right? Because if you like Jason, like if you buy like a fully canvas suit, like you can just wear it to hell, And
well, I mean, to be fair though, it's not just about the canvas, right? It's
right.
Canvassing will help it mold to your body and provide shape, but you can still have an unstructured jacket. But then people will say, "Well, it looks too sloppy to me." It's like, okay, well,
yeah.
Like,
I was helping a friend with they're like on their style journey, and I was kind of explaining sort of this Neapolitan look at the sloped shoulders, and describing sort of the Anglo style. And he's like, "Well, maybe I like the structure," and I was just like. It's so hard to explain to people, just like the slouchy nature and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean that's why you just gotta like look at them, have them look at examples, and and also just kind of live life and show them, because it's like I definitely know when I hang out with regular people, like with Sai or whatever, that when I'm with them wearing tailoring, like my hands are in my pockets like all the time. I'm like slouching it up. I fade into like the background a little bit, just because if anyone like notices, it's like, whoa, what's different about Ethan? Why is he doing it this way? It's because it's too practical, And I also try and show up to things with my suit, but like cameras strapped to me, like I want to challenge that idea.
That's sort of your shield, like, hey, look, I'm not this power suit guy. Like, I'm still me.
That's
that the suit is the modern day knight's suit of armor.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah. I've often said that.
Well, that's the whole Anglo thing, right? They wanted to feel like armor, and that's why people like the structure and everything like that.
Yeah.
Which
well, let's
no cucks allowed.
Yeah, let me go. I'm gonna go in here with David. So David says here, so one thing he thinks is dressing. First off, dressing in seasonal fabrics and fabric weights. Yeah, I mean, once you're able to unlock the idea that not everything is just wool, or that an odd jacket, like an odd jacket, is not tweed. Like when you like, oh, I got a vintage jacket. Is it tweed? Like, no, it can be cotton too. So like that, yeah. Right. Making sure that you're wearing things.
They weren't wearing tweed 24/7.
Tweed pajamas. Right.
Well, actually, you got to watch The Great Gatsby for the accurate answer on that one.
That's true.
And then so David here, another thing we'll probably talk about next is, so he never had any menswear role models. I wore shit the way he wanted and still does. He started his hobby in South Korea and just dressed in the way that he wanted. Never had any of those influences. 100% practical for him. That's interesting because, I mean, it really also depends what we consider to be, and I'm not trying to be a Berkeley Breeds here, but like, what do we consider to be role models, right? Like, again, Berkeley in the thing, he talks about how I uphold other people's style authorities. I wouldn't use that as much. I would call it inspirations, because I don't think that I was like, I have to follow their rules. I think I just have to follow the.
You see people like, oh, I didn't know that was possible with clothing. I think is that kind of a similar thing where it's like it's not like a role model.
I think of it kind of like music, where like you're like, oh, I didn't know you could put those two chords together.
Right.
Right. So it's like. I'm curious, it's kind of a different thing here, but yeah, I've never been able to dress in a totally complete vacuum. I don't think I'm not that original.
That's not a thing.
I don't think
compile your interests. You want
true,
to or not.
I don't know. I mean, maybe David in the chat can expand on that, because it's kind of like, I mean, this could be what I've referred to, Spencer, is like that idea that you know what you like, and in your head. It's like, I know I want a thing with lapels and 3 buttons, and then you see a suit, you're like, that's it. Like, whoa. Like,
right.
And you have no other context other than
this is the
design. Right. But then I like, it's hard. Again, it's hard for me to think about a person who likes the exact aesthetics of tailoring without even considering the roots of it at all. I'm sure that might happen for some people, but I can't imagine that life, because as someone who grew up going to church, it is, and you wearing uniform and everything like that, and James Bond, it's really like these things have this kind of meaning. So I understand for other people who have that, how hard it is to break out of that and make it practical. But it's like, so at some point, either what you like to wear and what you do in your life is going to win out. And it's like, I mean, hopefully the podcast episode proper is evidence that is possible. You know what I mean? Well, okay. Well, Jason, so you live in New York here. You obviously have to walk around. And,
what?
Allegedly, you have to walk around and do things, and all that kind of stuff. So how do you make your menswear practical for you? You have a much more, I wouldn't say, it's much more aesthetically driven, I think, than us. So it's a little bit, there's a lot more design involved. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, it's not exactly the same thing as me wearing like a wide leg pant. You've got a lot of more creative ideas. So I'm curious how you make it practical and what you do.
Big patch pockets.
Okay. There you go.
Big.
I mean, you guys
know what they say.
patch pockets on my stuff. They're gigantic.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I wear. Yeah, I mean, I utilize every pocket that I have. Maybe sans the back pockets because I don't like things in my back pockets. It feels uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, front pockets and my pants are being used. Yeah, pockets for like on the front of my jacket, the inside pockets of the jacket. They're just always being used, and I use, because I don't really, I'm always warm, so I don't really layer up too much.
Okay.
Unless it's like super cold, and then, so, yeah, it's usually just like that. And I'll have my bean tote, my bean bag, and I fill that up with a bunch of stuff. And it's just, everything, like I run into a lot of guys at the store I work for who, don't want the pockets to be open because they want, they're like, oh, you don't use them though, right? And I'm like, I use my pockets.
Yeah.
Maybe I use them.
They're like, oh, well, I don't want it to get all like messy. And I'm like, but that means you're wearing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the idea of using pockets is pretty wild. I mean, that's like basically the two aspects of the whole podcast essay. It's like pick the right materials / cut, and then use the pockets. You know,
and I wear a lot of cotton as well because I'm always warm and it's rugged.
Okay, so David responds here. I didn't look at any stuff Ethan talks about. No, if I put this on the Tumblr, I would go out to stores until I found one that he liked. There's any rules? He didn't know any rules. So he broke it unintentionally. That's interesting. I mean, I feel like, context really matters with a lot of this kind of stuff. And for us, I think Spencer, I mean, maybe just me and MJ, it's kind of impossible to not be exposed to anything, Well,
it's just like when it's okay, like a similar thing where you could do something not in a vacuum, but just like have kind of a singular mindset, almost like going to like a conservatory, and you could be like really good at this one idea, but exposing yourself to a culture and feeding your imagination with these different sources and influences, you just create a wider array of what you can do with clothing and like ideas you might that you didn't even know about.
Yeah. I think Henrik would call this kind of like this issue here like a generational thing, but I think it's even like with David here. I think it's a geographic kind of different thing because I think here, right, like if we talk about talk about rules, like even if I didn't read MFA until I was already being featured on it, like I didn't look at it until like someone said, "Oh yeah, you should go on this." Thing. Like it's it's just like diet workwear, just like MFA. I joined after I had already started wearing vintage regularly because Spencer told me,
"Hey, MFA existed until you guys told me about it."
Yeah, and so I think it's kind of interesting, but I knew the rules because even if I wasn't on #menswear Tumblr when I started using it, people still shared that shit. Like it's like I don't know. Remember, I think Spencer's also seen it too. But like that, like guide to different suits, that comes up that's mainly for drawing. Like, it came up for me because I followed like fan art artists, like on Tumblr, anime artists and whatnot. So it's like, it's really tough, right? To kind of have, I didn't look it out. Like I think me and Spencer talked about too, where we don't really read any other people's publications. Mm-hmm. We follow people, but we don't we didn't get any ideas from put this on or MFA. Like those can't happened concurrently with our style journey. In fact, maybe not with style journey, but like we kind of already knew what we were doing.
Yeah.
When
well, it's like you
happened.
guys talk about, like, you don't go like, what do you say? You go right to the vintage source. If you, I don't know if it's a film trying to do something, or they're trying to do a style, or some brand is trying to do this, but you guys would rather just cut to what they're inspired by.
I like going to the original. If a brand is doing their take on like an M65 or M43 or whatever, generally I prefer the original.
Right.
And
it's stuff.
And so it's like that with people too, right? Where it's like, I'd much rather follow this person I like rather than just a brand, or just like what they're trying to do.
And I do the same thing kind of too, even though I get inspired from a lot of contemporary people. It's one of those things where, because I grew up in vintage and I've been in, like, on the Fedora Lounge for so long, I also joined the Fedora Lounge kind of right when I was already kind of figuring stuff out for myself, because I had already started doing stuff with people. But it's one of those things where I know I've seen beret looks with tailoring way before I saw Ethan Newton. You know, I'm pretty sure I've seen the European guys in the skiing Facebook groups way before I knew what the Brycelands was.
And
you know,
the difference when you follow a brand on Instagram, obviously if you look at Drake's lookbooks and follow them and get ideas from that, but really what they're showing you is how to dress in Drake's. Or if you follow a real person whose style you like, definitely get a little bit more.
You know,
that whole notion of the off-duty uniform that Drake's isn't going to publish, but you find it by looking at those workers at the time. We're just like, oh shit, like this is interesting too.
The funny thing though is, and this is okay, we're getting a little off topic on the practicality thing, but like it's whenever I think about like the bucket hat or the beret, I always ask Spencer for pictures, because I'm like, I know, even though I like it because I saw Ethan Newton do it, I know I've seen it before. And so always before any kind of big podcast, I'm like, Spencer, we have to go through the archives again, because I know we've seen this. I know there are times in 2015 where we're just at fucking McDonald's and we're waiting for our food and we're just scrolling through Spencer and my like Tumblr archive of like stuff, because I know we've seen it. You know, I know it's there. And just like with practicality, I mean, even though Dylan was the first person I saw that was using it practically, I was like, it reminds me of those old photographs that Spencer and I would look at, or this might be before me and Spencer even met, but like the old pictures that Florian would reblog on Tumblr. You know, it's one of those things where there's got to be precedent for it, you know, and maybe that also applies to how I write the blog. Like I gotta have every iteration that I can think of that's doing this particular thing.
Right.
But yeah, no, it's you know, to get the idea of wearing stuff practically, I mean, again, like it could just be a product of our point of view. Like MJ and I had grown up, and Spencer, well, maybe not Spencer as much, but like conservative Christian wearing a suit, and you know, wear your best clothes for God. And so when you wear your best stuff, you know, no jeans, no
Best
stains,
Lord,
no hats, no wrinkled shirts,
not a
no
single
messy
luxury
ties. You know, you
shoes.
have to, no tennis shoes. So it's like, even, and those people aren't really doing it from like classic menswear perspective. It's still from it's just from like a just looking
Very
quote
oppressive
perspective.
kind of way.
It's kind of oppressive, but it's also a sense of occasion. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like, and this is also off topic, but like, you know, there's a lot of wedding analogies in the Bible, right? To, you know, being married to God, you know, like, you know, we are like God's wife, you know, like the wife, like, you know, waiting for us to come home. What is the parable, right? Where like the groom is waiting,
is the bride.
And the bride is, you know, she's late for the wedding, and God's waiting there, and what matters is you have to have like the light, you know, like the candle. That way, they will let you into the wedding or something like that, you know. And if you don't have it,
Light the way.
yeah, it's weird.
And just it's fine.
But it's that idea that, you know, if you think about that analogy of weddings, right? Like you wear like the best thing. You get stuff made for your wedding. My grandma had a dress made for her for that wedding. I was talking to my tailor where his tailor friends made the suit for his wedding. You know, so it's one of those things where I get, like, you know, tailoring.
I only rent for weddings.
At least in a very American standpoint. I mean, also my tailor and my grandparents are not from America, but they're from, like, you know, colonized places, the Philippines and Chile. So it's like, that idea that this Western, the suit is like the epitome of formality and business wear and acceptable clothing. I get it. It's tough. It's hard to break out of that. Not everyone are able to like come at it from a totally artistic perspective, which is why if you have a little bit of rebellion in you, wearing it practically is a good way of accomplishing that. Not as a style thing, but just to kind of like live life. You know what I mean? Like,
live Moss.
It's just clothes.
What I've found is
bun.
that people who don't do it usually are safe people who don't do much. I don't mean that to be, obviously there are examples of it where people do, like, people can be super adventurous and just want to have tailoring as a formal thing. That's fine. That's not who I'm talking about. I'm just talking about the kind of people who just are very hesitant on it. And then when I talk to them, they tend to be very like, oh, but I want to wear my suit to this,
Well, the issue, I think it's past the suit. Like, it speaks more to not just wanting to wear a suit, but it's just a slight insecurity or lack of knowledge in style. Like, I think it speaks to that as well. Yeah, that's and direction. He just said and direction.
Oh, I was gonna say, I don't even say it's about style. Again, I could just be projecting here, but I feel like it's kind of insecurity about not wanting to look, quote, good, right? Like, there's an idea
not wanting to look good.
Yeah, I think it's not wanting to stand out.
Oh, yeah.
Well, also, it's both. I think not just standing up, but like every time you go out, you want to look put together, and the idea that being practical is not put together, aka there's like some kind of reason that you have to, that like, oh, this guy didn't bring a camera bag, so he has to wear it on his neck. Oh, this guy is he missed laundry day, so he has to wear white socks. Like there's an idea that
this idea of the suit not being sexy.
Best. I have to look my best because you never know when I might run into Olivia Rodrigo. I need to look my best for that.
Can I be honest? I don't want to sound like an old man over here, but I literally she didn't exist until a couple days ago. Like, literally didn't exist, and now everyone's talking about her, and this is the Mandela
Classic
effect.
Hollywood.
This is the first time I've believed in the Mandela effect.
Oh, sort of like a buttercream effect?
Is that what it's called in this universe?
Her album is perfect.
What do you mean?
Universe.
That's just what's called the buttercream effect.
Oh, no.
I've never heard another
I've been
phrase for it.
I've been Mandela.
You just got Mandela.
You just got Mandela.
All I want is for... Well, I'm sure MJ could back in. All I want is Valkyrie to knows me, you know what I'm saying? So...
Yeah.
Let us MJ, do you have thoughts on this?
Yeah, do it while I pick practicality.
Okay. Practicality. I mean, coming from the the retail side,
right?
At least at Uniqlo, we carry pens, notebooks, a bunch of stuff. Sometimes when we're...
I wish you guys got business cards. That was the thing with Brooks, where it's like, now I have to have fucking business card cases. We do
like, well, and it's not business cards, but sometimes we hand out like
for the store,
like customer feedback things when like corporate is like, we need more like customer reviews on like with the website or Yelp or whatever.
Or Yelp, yeah.
Yelp.
Oh wait, it wasn't you guys that had to wait. Can I say this on air? So maybe there was someone who is...
I'm not a corporate manager, so...
Maybe those reviews were coming from the inside from somewhere.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
I don't work. I think that Men's Warehouse is closed.
Okay.
I don't work there.
All right, I couldn't remember
anything.
All right, I didn't remember who it was, so I didn't want.
Who knows?
I feel like there's enough like real ones that would cancel out the.
I see. Yeah,
employee,
which is not the case for our podcast, by the way. Please continue to review. Allegedly, by the way. Yes. Yeah,
but carrying a bunch of stuff. That's why I wear like jungle jackets and short coats to work a lot. I mean, not only is it like a lightweight layering piece, but also a bunch of pockets. Put a bunch of stuff in it.
And who doesn't want?
Right. I dare you to find someone who doesn't love it.
Yeah,
on the street.
And it's. Yeah, I go outside into the mall like
you like this?
Just be like,
I need to know MJ
style.
I really need to know.
$1. Do you like this?
Just $1. That's all I need, MJ. Because you don't wear like the most tailoring, but you don't baby anything like that because you come from our sensibilities, right? So when you do wear it, you're not precious with it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like
Yeah,
even like on the days where I like, well, I don't do it as much anymore because, one, we're having shorter shifts. Two, we're having, I don't know, I'm working 1 day a week, so
yeah.
it doesn't
Boycott
matter.
Uniqlo,
But like I used to wear, well, also like on days that I knew that it was gonna be slow, like I would wear like cooler stuff or like
Sure.
like I wear the brown suit like occasionally.
Oh yeah.
And like that would be that would make the like, you know,
Are
customers
you
would
allowed to
probably
work and wear non-work like clothing at your
Uniqlo.
Or
You
the
mean
style
non-Uniqlo?
of their thing.
Well,
Yeah.
because as long as it doesn't have like logos and stuff, like it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And as
Because
long
what
as
would be what's something you wear that's outside the quote unquote tone of Uniqlo? Because they seem pretty flexible.
That's outside the bun.
well, see that's the
Yes.
thing, right?
Yeah.
It
We'll get to that.
it has to at least look like it could come from it.
That's the
So-
idea, right? Yeah.
So even if I wear like J Crew stuff, like it's fine. Or
Right.
if I wear things that are like, you know, quote unquote more formal than what like Uniqlo
Mhm.
has like their polyester suit, right? But if I wear like a brown cotton suit, like they don't care, or like it's still in uniform.
I had to say I really enjoyed pushing the envelope with the Drake stuff with the denim and the tailoring at Brooks. Like,
Mhm.
what? How do you do? What is this? Huh? So yeah, finding
Where
that
can I
line
buy
is precious.
that?
Yeah,
I think
good luck.
I think that's like the top comment. Like when I wear something that's not Uniqlo and like somebody
And then, of course,
notices-
that's the only time they ask, and they're like,
And you gotta tell them, hey, sorry.
just go to Spear and McKay. I just send everyone to Spear and McKay when I'm at
or I
Brooks.
just say it's vintage because I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a good cop out.
That's what
that's
I always have that issue for real.
It's thrifted, or
I
yeah. I
handle
mean, I
my
do have a
business
couple
back.
vintage pieces, but like that kind of like, oh yeah, you can't get this anywhere. Like
Yeah.
actually,
There's a segment we haven't gotten to regarding practicality that is very relevant and important, weather. And I think we've talked about this specific detail in a lot where it's like, you have an idea, and I don't pre-plan outfits, but you have like ideas and you're like, look, I really am committing to this outfit, really got it. And of course we all kowtow to the weather. I don't know if that's an appropriate term, sorry. We all are very like engaged with the weather. And we're sticking with an outfit to our guns in spite of what's happening in the elements. And so that might go against the practicality sometimes. And I don't know, do you guys ever fight with that? Or or maybe in LA it's not as big of a deal?
I used to. I mean, I haven't much in the last year, just because I've had no pretense for needing to go out and stunt on people, whatever. But yeah,
it's not even like a flex. It might be a flex for you.
I used to have that issue just where I like layering. I like a lot of winter pieces, and so
yeah,
I would kind of wear it even though it wasn't the most appropriate. I would be like, you know what? It's October. Even though it's still 80 degrees, I will wear this, this jacket, this heavier jacket.
Those transitional seasons. Yeah.
Yeah. Or like when we do turtleneck base layer, like I feel like, well, at least here, right in LA, it's like any chance we get, we like kind of move it.
That's the go-to.
Priority up a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
Because I know I did it a couple times when it was like getting into like high 70s, like low 80s.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't dying because I was indoors, but I mean, the warmth still moves its way inside.
Yeah. As things have been getting warmer, yeah.
I'm gonna try not to do that as much in the future. I'm gonna try to dress for.
I mean, you gotta, because you have to just be comfortable.
Nobody's gonna say. Well,
that's the thing.
Be affected.
Do you hate to hear this? Where they're like, "How are you wearing all of that?
Yeah.
It's so hot." We get that here. I get that here, and I hate it. I hate it so much. So I never want to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
as it got hotter
I
here,
still,
I had to wear cotton.
I still get that from like wearing like regular, quote unquote regular, lighter layering pieces.
Like no one knows what summer fabrics are. Like it's literally seersucker. You're an idiot.
It's like, are you hot in that? I mean, like it's just cotton. I mean, cotton.
Right.
Maybe, but like it's not that bad.
So dumb.
Especially if I'm
And you
wear-
can't call him an idiot.
Mhm.
especially when I don't wear like thick like shirts,
Two
you
C's.
know. Yeah.
No, right,
So
right.
it's like, or I wear shorts. I wear polos like underneath sometimes.
You got the polo. That's the thing. I mean,
Boots
we've
with
talked
the
about this
fur.
for a long time. Like, I gotta eventually, if I do get more stuff, like working my way to convincing myself to wear polos and that it's okay
Right.
now. Because I think that was a lot of a middle school thing too. Like the polo, like getting
Yeah.
into clothing, Abercrombie and Fitch, just like button downs, polos, and just like it's so still associated with like business casual and just
I mean,
like
it's
like
probably the
reclaiming it.
same. Yeah, because like going back to Ethan and I going to private school wearing polos every day. Like I didn't
Right.
start wearing polos again until I started like
It's
dressing.
it's sort of a different version of it. Wait, I'll just throw in really quick. Like I've talked about how it's hard for people like me to do like a tied over sweater thing, and in a way, people of color are able to reclaim that kind of look and recontextualize it. But I feel like for polo shirts, that's might be a next step for me. Like, how can I make it not that preppy and just like this current style? I feel like that's maybe an answer if I want to choose to wear polos again.
Can't.
Mhm.
Yeah, I can't. I don't think I'll wear polos if they're not Spirit Points. I can't wear like. I know the Lacoste one is like
Yeah.
pretty popular with NYC
Or like
guys.
ribbed or something.
do
I
it.
don't know, man. Or like a good
Also,
collar.
I
This is
want
a-
if SJC really quick, if SJC ever comes back out with long sleeve polos, I think I'm gonna pick
The
some.
long sleeve, that's the thing. Dave must wear that
Mhm.
too. Where it's just like, yeah, it makes a huge difference.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, to get back to what you're saying about how can you wear all of that kind of stuff, you
Mhm.
know, that is annoying.
Right.
And it's one of those things too where I kind of just, I mean, I'm not as antagonistic to people as I might seem, but I do think I like to dive
With
into
people you don't
incredulity
know.
of it. Yeah, I kind of, well, I'm just more, I mean, like we said in the general chat a couple of days ago, I kind of just dive deep on like being silly or absurd. I'm like, I don't know how I'm doing it. Like, I'm just like,
'cause
oh,
that's
I
what
don't know.
you're supposed to do. You make the joke, and then inside you have like monologues. But summer boy fabrics. Yeah.
I mean, it's really fun though when I get to wear if I'm wearing balloon fabric and I'm like, oh, it's really good. And I literally show them and they're like, oh, you know. So like
Right.
that's kind of. I mean, it helps. I mean, it's like depending on the situation. I either like to educate or just kind of like just have fun with it. You know, just because
Sure.
I'm never gonna see this person again. I can just be like, I don't know.
Oh, I see.
I'm
I
just
see.
a big
I hear
old
it from the
dummy.
people I
You
do
know,
yeah.
like
I hear it from
because
the
I
people I
think
do know.
Or you just say about like how cool it is that you're wearing it. You're like, I'm wearing it because it's cool. Like, and then you.
Yeah. Yeah, that can also help too. I mean, it's one of those things also where I think it's, but I don't know if it's funnier, where like if I'm wearing like a suit and someone's wearing like a Sherpa denim jacket, like how are you wearing that? I'm like, how are you wearing that? Like,
Yeah, that's my line.
I refuse to wear anything with blanket lining and like Sherpa. I can't do it. It's too
Yeah.
hot, too small.
You look at him
Um,
and you say, actually, you're the zoo animal.
Yeah. You're the crazy one.
Yeah,
I'm normal.
I'm
but
actually the Joker.
it's
Oh my god.
that's that's kind of like and I don't know. Again, this goes back to what I've said in our little fun friend chats, not even in Discord, but like the people who are the most resistant to this kind of thing tend to be pretty much on the younger side and have a very, very different upbringing and context. You know,
Or it's so fixed.
like
change my mind.
Yeah,
No, I don't want
it
to.
is so,
Please.
well, it's
No, thanks.
I think it's because when you're younger like that and you see infographics and everything, you think you know everything, right? And it's it could be like, oh, all jocks are stupid, right? And then you literally meet people who are like, yeah, like some of the big Star Wars nerds I know that I met like through the internet or whatever are like also pretty, like they take care of themselves or whatever, you know.
And it's like you had to keep their grades up to stay on the team, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like life is not like high school, and that's something I had to kind of go through
I mean,
because I
wasn't
went
the
to like a Christian
message?
college.
Wasn't the message of the, but not bad girls,
Mean Girls?
good girls? Was that the movie
I don't
Good
know
Girls?
what you're
Directed
I don't
by
know.
the one where the girls are good and they graduate from high school and they're like, wait a minute, you're telling me I could have gotten into Harvard and also gone to parties?
Oh, I'm
Like, that's
sorry.
the
You
whole-
mean
I like
you
parties.
mean? Fuck! Oh shit! What's it called?
See, nobody knows the name of this movie.
No, I know
Smart,
this.
Smart Girls.
Booksmart. Olivia Wilde.
Booksmart.
Booksmart. It's Booksmart. Fuck, dude. Yeah.
Group watch Booksmart.
Yeah. No, it's that idea. You know, when you start to look at everything else out there, right? It's like you know, this is why I can't discount the idea of approaching things on your own. I mean, not everyone's as lucky as David in the chat here, right? Like that's kind of a pretty unique context of like being able to like literally go to a store going, what is this? A suit? That's what that's called? I'm gonna wear it forever. You know, everyone that we know has some kind of context, but it with tailoring, but they lack the open like the wide berth of people just dressing like it, right? So I guess if David, you know, again I'm assuming things here, but like, you know, David says, you know, he was in Korea. Suits are fashion there too, right? Like there's a lot of like, you know, tailoring and everything there. And so it's easy to find people naturally find people naturally who wear things in a very practical way. Just like if you were in Japan, I don't think you would be like, oh, suits are only for this. Like I feel like if you were on the street, you'd see like a dude wearing a jacket with like fatigues or putting his hands in his pockets, you know? But in America, you don't get that. You don't have that. You know, it doesn't matter, and it doesn't matter if you're in, and maybe it's even worse if you're in Los Angeles, where there's even less suits to see, right? There's like if you're in New York, the chances are you might see the Drake's guys walking around if you're going to some dive bar, the Finelli's Cafe, or wherever they're hanging out.
So you might live across from Matt Woodruff and film him on your TikTok.
That's right, smoking, wearing a cashmere jacket with like cream flannels and like sneakers, you know. Here, you'd be so hard pressed to find, you know, these people who wear tailoring in any place that's not like the red carpet to their job or whatever. And so a big reason why I try to push practicality and show so many pictures is like, hey man, it's not the fact that I'm trying to show that it's more widespread than you think. And even if we are not in New York, and even though I include pictures of New York, is that, you know, we still do it here. You know, in a little small way here. And it's great here. David says here, you know, in terms of what he actually wears, how he wears things practically. You know, he says here, he doesn't baby anything. He likes walking everywhere, and living in Asia for most of his adult life has supported that habit. See there, yeah, Asia, right there, boom. People look cool in Asia. People don't look cool in fucking San Gabriel, California. Alden's pair of boots, Croc and Jones arm wounds have real miles on them. Those lead to him favoring leathers that require very little break-in time. That's interesting because, you know, it's like one of those things where I'm very limited in my fabric choice, right? If it's not vintage, it's like cotton or like crisp air. Like I literally don't have the luxury of trying different fabrics to know how it works. Don't have the money for that either. David also says he shoe trees all the shoes, and he every other month he conditions and polishes all of them, so he still takes good care of them. Yeah, I mean, I
think that's good to do. That's good to do.
Don't baby, but take care of it. You know, like that. Those are. I mean,
I want my shit to last. You know, it's like I don't baby it, but at the same time, I want.
I mean, it's like a car, right? Like you can drive your car all over the fucking Los Angeles, but if you don't give it the regular oil change, your engine's gonna get fucked up, and then you're gonna have to buy a new engine or like, you know, replace something. You know, like you gotta. Like I said before, you gotta be smart. You gotta listen to your gut check about whether or not something is practical to you. You know, like we're not saying that, oh, beach party, wear a suit. You know, you could do it. Maybe wear like a cotton suit that you can just like roll up. You know, or that you don't mind getting wet in the you know, with some salt water or whatever. You know, if you want to do it that way, wear like a work suit or something. People literally soak their jeans in salt water for different types of fades. So it's like, you know, there are different ways to kind of approach it, you know. What David says, when he wears ties, he cinches the life out of him so the knot is hella sharp. The downside is just destroy the tie that relatively quickly. I have been told I do this. I know Spencer does it too. We like very narrow knots. We love wearing the shit out of our ties. But I think, and Spencer wears his rarely, but even for me, I don't really wear the same ties like multiple
I
times
mean,
a week.
you have just like
Maybe
so many ties. You have like a shit ton of ties, so that's easy.
but I haven't but I've bought a new like I've bought like 3 in the past like 2 years. So it's like stopped, you know what I mean? But yeah, there are a lot of ties. I think the one I've probably worn more than once in a week is probably like the black knit tie, because that one's just awesome. The good thing you can find that almost anywhere. Any kind of like worth your salt tie maker will probably have a black knit tie. Even if you go on eBay, just be aware of the super slim ones.
You want to get that crunch. That's right.
Get that crunch.
That's right.
Which my Land's End one does not have.
But so we have well, thank you guys first off for joining our
so
practicality episode, little follow-up discussion here. Again, I know it's not the biggest group here, but it's fine. I think we were able to fill up the time here.
The motion of the ocean.
The motion of the group.
And it's a tsunami.
The moop of the